Direct News TV. July 10, 2023. Russia-Ukraine updates. Kyiv urges NATO to confirm membership. Zaporizhzhia airstrike. Aid distribution centers become regular targets. Kyiv says Russian missiles struck an aid distribution center at a school in the Zaporizhzhia region. Authorities say 4 people were killed and 13 injured in the attack on Monday morning. Al Jazeera's Ast Baig reports from Yampil in eastern Ukraine. Zelensky says NATO must confirm Ukraine's membership. Zelensky says the majority of NATO members have stood behind his country and their Vilnius summit must confirm that Ukraine is a de facto member of the military alliance. The majority of the alliance stands firmly with us, the Ukrainian president said in his nightly video message. When we applied for membership in NATO, we spoke frankly. De facto, Ukraine is already in the alliance. Our weapons are the weapons of the alliance. Our values are what the alliance believes in. Vilnius must confirm all this. Zelensky said further weapon supplies for Ukraine in its war against Russia would also be discussed at the summit and added, I am sure that there could well be positive news regarding weapons for our men from Vilnius. U.S. defends difficult decision to send cluster bombs to Ukraine. The Biden administration has defended supplying Ukraine with cluster munitions, saying that difficult decision will not compromise international support for Kyiv despite concerns from allies who oppose the use of such weapons. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said cluster munitions would serve as a bridge to sustain Ukrainian firepower while the U.S. ramps up production of conventional artillery for Kyiv. We were faced with the decision of either allowing Ukraine to run low or potentially run out of ammunition, he said. Cluster munitions can leave unexploded bombs, which remain embedded in the ground for years, posing a danger to civilians. Miller said the U.S. received very serious assurances from Ukraine to use cluster munitions against military targets only and later clean up the areas where they are deployed. Russia. Gulf diplomats agree to work on development of energy supply chains. Top diplomats from Russia and the Gulf states have agreed to work on development of energy supply chains, the TASS news agency says, citing their joint statement. Today's meeting confirmed that we always lay bare our positions honestly and not one of us is seeking to cooperate against anyone else, Lavrov said after the meeting. He added that neither Russia nor the Gulf countries had ever tried to interfere with each other's relations with third countries. Mobilization official in Russian city of Krasnodar killed. A deputy chief of a city department in charge of military mobilization in the southern Russian city of Krasnodar has been killed, the TASS news agency reports, citing law enforcement bodies. It said Stanislav Ruzitsky was killed by a gunman. A criminal case into the killing has been opened, the news agency added. Turkey's EU push should not be impediment to Sweden's NATO bid, US. The U.S. Department of State says Washington backs Turkey's bid to join the EU, but it added that the issue should not be linked to Sweden's NATO application, which is being blocked by Ankara. The United States has for a number of years supported Turkey's EU aspirations, and we continue to do so. That said, ultimately, that's a matter between the European Union and Turkey, spokesperson Matthew Miller told reporters. However, we do not believe that it should be an impediment to Sweden's accession to NATO. NATO membership of Ukraine, Sweden in focus at Vilnius summit. The leaders of the 31 NATO members are set to convene for a 2-day summit in Lithuania's capital, Vilnius, starting on Tuesday. Members will seek to reaffirm their support for war-torn Ukraine, overcome differences over Sweden's NATO membership and display a united stance against Russia's aggression. Canada to more than double military presence in Latvia. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has said his country will more than double its military presence in Latvia, a Baltic state neighboring Russia, by expanding to brigade level there. We are going to more than double our presence, deploying up to an additional 1,200 members of the Canadian Armed Forces to serve and defend democracy and the rule of law, Trudeau told reporters in the Adatsi military base in Latvia. Trudeau said the additional troops will reinforce and enhance our land, maritime and air capabilities and support special operations in Central and Eastern Europe. He added the reinforcement will be a part of a $2.6 billion $2 billion US investment, which also includes the purchase of critical weapon systems and support for intelligence and cyber activities. This is just one more way that Canada is stepping up to support our allies and standing up against the Kremlin's aggression, Trudeau said. The Prime Minister also noted that Canada is opposed to using cluster munitions that the United States has pledged to send to Ukraine. Canada was one of the countries that led on the banning of cluster munitions, and we continue to be very firm that they should never be used, he said. NATO allies agree regional plans for defense against Russian attack. NATO allies have reached agreement on regional plans detailing how the alliance would respond to a Russian attack, overcoming a Turkish blockage one day before leaders meet for a summit in Vilnius, Lithuania, 3 diplomats told Reuters news agency. NATO had for decades seen no need for large-scale defense plans, as it fought smaller wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and felt certain post-Soviet Russia no longer posed an existential threat. By outlining its regional plans, NATO will also give nations guidance on how to upgrade their forces and logistics. NATO officials estimate it will take a few years for the plans to be fully implemented, though they stress that the alliance can head into battle immediately if required. Russians bought $78.4 million of forex after mutiny. Russia's central bank says Russians had bought 7.1 billion rubles, $78.4 million, of foreign currency due to the uncertainty caused by a brief mutiny on June 24, but the spike was short-lived. The bank said exporters decreased sales of foreign currency in June. It said foreign exchange purchases for the month as a whole totaled 300 million rubles, $3.3 million. Ukraine hopes to receive confirmation of NATO membership at summit. Ukraine's defense ministry has shared a tweet regarding the country's hopes to join NATO, on the eve of the military alliance's annual 2-day summit in Vilnius, Lithuania. Ukraine in NATO. Not if. When, the ministry said. Investigation reveals Ukraine have not implemented ammo ramp-up plans. An investigation by European media outlets finds that more than a year into Russia's full-scale war in Ukraine, the EU and Ukraine have yet to implement an increase in their ammunition production. Ukraine's Kyiv Independent, Dutch-based Lighthouse reports and Follow the Money, Spain's El Diario, Estonia's Delphi and France's Liberation conducted the investigation. It found that EU governments have signed hardly any long-term contracts with producers, while Ukraine's arms makers have also complained about a lack of state support to scale up production. NATO membership of Ukraine, Sweden in focus at Vilnius summit. NATO leaders will meet in Lithuania this week to discuss Russia's aggression, as well as overcome differences over the prospective membership of Ukraine and Sweden. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky will also attend the summit to inaugurate the opening of a NATO-Ukraine Council. Lavrov says UN efforts on grain deal have not yielded results. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said that efforts by the United Nations to ensure the implementation of the Russian part of the Black Sea grain export deal have not yet yielded results. These incredible efforts have not produced any result at all, Lavrov told a press conference after meeting foreign ministers from the Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC. Moscow has repeatedly said it sees no grounds to extend the grain deal, which enables Ukraine to export cereals from its Black Sea ports beyond July 17. New data suggests 50,000 Russian deaths during Ukraine war. Nearly 50,000 Russian men have died in the war in Ukraine, according to the first independent statistical analysis of Russia's war dead. 2 independent Russian media outlets, Mediazona and Meduza, working with a data scientist from Germany's University of Tübingen University, used Russian government data to shed light on one of Moscow's closest held secrets, the true human cost of its invasion of Ukraine. White House says Turkey's EU application is a matter between Ankara and the EU. The United States has always supported Turkey's European Union membership aspirations and continues to do so, the White House has said, adding that those discussions are a matter between Turkey and the bloc's 27 members. Our focus is on Sweden, which is ready to join the NATO alliance, a White House National Security Council spokesperson told reporters. Italy has frozen the assets of Russian oligarchs, Zelensky aide. Andriy Yermak, the head of Kyiv's presidential office, has said that Italy has frozen the assets of Russian oligarchs worth about €2 billion, $2.2 billion. This is the total amount of assets subject to sanctions, starting with the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February 2022 and ending in June 2023, he said in a statement on Telegram, and highlighted that bank accounts, real estate and luxury items, such as yachts and cars, have been sanctioned. My name is Kingsley. Please like, share, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to be notified whenever we post. You won't regret it.